IT Insights, 5 questions to tech and business leaders.
Hi, welcome to another episode of IT Insight series 5 Questions. I'm Eva Banaś, and today I have a pleasure to talk with Jack Nikogosian, CEO of ARYZE and an award-winning Danish blockchain expert with vast knowledge of the cryptocurrency space. Jack has also been featured as one of the top 100 talents in Denmark in 2019 and on Forbes 30 Under 30 in 2020. I'm really excited to have you here, Jack.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me over.
Could you tell us a bit more about your professional background?
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole journey into this, I guess, fintech and blockchain and the crypto sphere, like with so many others, started with Bitcoin. I saw Bitcoin in 2013. I noticed Mt. Gox, the exchange back then, the kind of the only exchange that existed back then. I did wire some money to this Japanese exchange. I bought some Bitcoin, and after a while, they surged in price, and that was kind of the first public hype. That's when I entered and saw what Bitcoin was. Of course, I had no idea what it was. I thought it was some kind of game thing, like so many others, right? I played Diablo, and I have friends who played World of Warcraft, so I was familiar with the game currencies, in-game currencies. But of course, when Bitcoin went from $15 to a few $100s quickly, then I suddenly had more capital than just a few hundred krona I transferred. So I jumped in the deep end of the pool, meaning all I ever did from there was crypto related. I was in school, so all projects were done, using some blockchain use case. When I graduated and had to get an internship, I started my own company so that I could work with blockchain even further. When I had to get my first real job, it was at a crypto company. So I've been working in this space professionally since 2015. I ended up running the innovation lab for a Danish company called Coinify. I was a part of the early days of Coinify and experienced, a startup turning into a scale up. I got my own small division with this innovation lab where we could just build cool stuff using crypto. So what I fell in love with was the aspect of programmable money, right? You could, similarly to WordPress, you could just build any website with cryptocurrencies. You can build any payment service or any payment solution. So in the Coinify lab, I got the pleasure of working with a bunch of important industry participants, and from municipalities to NGOs to fintechs to large established payment companies. And because everybody wanted to build using crypto back then, right? So we built media coin and solar panel payments, like IoT device payments, and we built a bunch of stuff. Now, shared for all of these use cases, what they had in common was that we basically had Bitcoin and then Ethereum to utilize. There weren't a lot of stable coins. I don't think there were any. So I left that position. I started ARYZE with a sole purpose of saying we need a stable coin, because all the use cases we built, the toughest part was not building it or conceptualizing it. It was actually selling it to the end users, the clients who couldn't deal with the volatility of whatever we built. So like a media coin for an online media where you could pay as you scroll, we called it. Like, so you just paid a few cents per scroll on an iPad instead of paying to subscribe to some online media. Well, 1 cent scroll could be a $5 scroll the next day, right? So it was super volatile.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, I started ARYZE. I actually went back to school, completed a top-up degree studying innovation and entrepreneurship. And as a part of that, I started ARYZE, won a government grant on it, and got to work on this company for the first year without really knowing what I was doing. I was just, trying everything. And then slowly, ARYZE became a real company. We got some funding, we hired a bunch of people, and we grew to where we are today. The mission is the same as when we started, creating a digital version of cash, we call it. Back then, I looked at an e-krona concept. Like, why don't we have an e-krona? Danish krona is already 80-90% digital. Why isn't it cryptographic? So that was my thesis, introducing e-krona to Denmark. And now, for five years later, almost, ARYZE has just launched an ARYZE e-euro, e-dollar, and e-pound. These are full reserve stablecoins, all of which with government guarantee. Essentially, we have created a digital version of cash. That's what we wanted. That's what I wanted to do back then.
Seems like mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, and now we just gotta get a bunch of crazy young developers to actually build new stuff, similarly to how I was building stuff with Coinify. And we need to get our series of stable coins out into the hands of the ecosystem developers. We've made money programmable, but we're not going to build all the stuff on top of it. That's not the intention.
Definitely. Thank you for this information and all this background. It seems like you took quite a road there. Okay, so let's start with a warm-up question. After hearing all that, I really don't know what I will hear as an answer. What would you be doing if you weren't doing this, like being in crypto since the very beginning, actually? Any alternatives?
This is not an easy question.
Never said it was.
I have always been I've never been a technician as such, but I've always had a nerdy personality. So I think that it would be whatever I will be doing will likely be in tech, but I'm not certain that in a different parallel universe that I'm working with IT or zeros and ones. But I think that I'm working with something related to exponentially growing technologies. My personality is as such that if I see something like annoyance or I observe something which could be made better, I keep thinking of ways of making that thing better or alternatives to that thing, whatever it may be. And exponentially growing technologies are really awesome because they have the opportunity to solve issues which have only gotten bigger and bigger over the decades, right? So huge concerns can then begin to be solved using exponential technologies. Like, for example, just a simple example, the mobile phones in our pockets has given hundreds of millions of people the potential of having a wallet and an identity, right? So I think that I would perhaps do something related to biology or nature. Personally, I've been developing a food forest in my backyard for the last 3 years. And
That's great.
so I'm very interested in how, mycelium works with the roots and how nutrition is transferred between plants. And it's a very flourishing food forest. So I'm quite proud of that. So maybe something related to forestry or something related to nature and biology. I think that I could see that. I can still see that, in the future. Had this vision of creating a concept where you can invest in land that farmers have, so you can convert it into food forests, so that the farmers can allocate like 5-10% of their land to these new way without having to lose, on the bottom, lose any revenues. And so something like that might still happen. But yeah, biology, nature, and technology, maybe.
Definitely a nice approach. Good to learn that. And in 2015, you became internationally known as Bitcoin Jack after paying solely with Bitcoin for an entire month.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to the young you who entered the world of crypto almost a decade ago and decided to try this, let's say, Bitcoin challenge?
Don't do it if you believe that if you believe that the instrument should be held for a long time. Then you should probably hold it and not spend it. So you're not the proud owner of the world's most expensive tattoo or the proud owner of the most expensive taxi ride or something silly like that. But then again, this was a marketing campaign to get attention towards Coinify and paying with crypto. And it's not
It
that
did its job.
it did its job. It's money that I would have spent anyway, so it really didn't make a difference for me. I just got my salary that month paid out in Bitcoin. So what it told me, it was, it just confirmed that Bitcoin is not great for day-to-day spendings. The volatility was annoying. Back then, sometimes the miners were slow, so you had to wait for a transaction to actually get validated. That was impractical. And today there are fewer places in Copenhagen accepting Bitcoin payments, like fewer shops than back then when I did the whole month on Bitcoin. Yeah, And I think that's because everyone has caught on that Bitcoin is not, like the title of the white paper indicated, a peer-to-peer digital version of cash or payment. It grew into becoming something different, and I think that it grew into becoming like a store of value, a long-term hedge against uncertainties in markets and whatnot. And the month living as Bitcoin Jack just validated that Bitcoin is not to be spent, is to be hodled. And yeah, that's what I would recommend to a younger me or a different person. Maybe not spend all your coins, so the only Bitcoin you have left is in your name. Like the nickname Bitcoin Jack still sticks with me, but Bitcoin Jack doesn't have a lot of Bitcoins. Yeah, so
I see. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
that is unfortunate. But
Yeah.
every spent Bitcoin is something I've learned, and any lost Bitcoin is a donation to everyone else. So
Exactly. I wanted to mention that, the lesson that you took out of it was of most value to you actually.
mhm.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
And speaking about lessons,
It would have been nice to be a billionaire, but
oh
but
yes.
I take the
But
wins.
you're a wiser man now.
I am a wiser broker man, but not a
Exactly.
yeah. But
Okay, let's move on to the next question perhaps.
sure.
So, as I mentioned, lessons learned. What is the biggest lesson learned in your whole professional career apart from, the one we discussed?
Hmm. These are not easy questions that you are asking. Um, there
Perhaps.
have
Mhm.
uh, there have been many different lessons that I have learned. I was not a CEO when I started.
Yeah.
I was not a I don't know. I was not a leader. We didn't have any employees, so who to lead? So I had to grow and learn with the role. So I have learned a ton. If you're really in it, like with me, I've been thinking about this for many years, and you speak with people who are not, and not regular folks, but let's say regulators, I'm thinking about specifically. Please recognize that they're like, and this is to all the crypto folks out there, they're like, half a decade behind, maybe even a full decade behind. The things that we are talking about around the dinner table or the office lunch table is not, wallets and mining and staking and the things that we see out there. It's what's next. And
Hmm.
one of the things that I've learned is that there is a vast, vast difference between the understanding of this thing, blockchain, crypto, Web3. The things that we know and I know and my colleagues know, they result in us seeing the world through that lens. But we have to recognize that not everyone does. Many bankers do not, many financial regulators do not. The way that we see MICA, the markets in crypto assets, being written and proposed shows that this is not written by people who are inspired. These are not written by people who can envision the future of Web3 or even Web4. These are written by people who need to govern and take control over what they see happening right now, right? So I've learned that there is a big difference. I guess that's a boring learning, but
Still a learning.
that's what you get. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, but it is very important to remember about that. So thank you for sharing this one. And what challenges do you encounter when spreading the gospel of tokenization? How do you actually handle those challenges?
It's funny because I don't spread the gospel of only tokenization or only blockchain. There are many evangelists that do, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan, right? So I follow it, but I'm not it. I don't think that it should be one way or the other. I don't think it should be the JP Morgan wallet or the JP Morgan coin way. And also don't necessarily think it should be the Zcash, Tornado Cash, fully anonymous way. I think that it's great that there is this tug of war going on, and hopefully we will get the best of both worlds. With ARYZE, we do utilize the best of both worlds. Our digital cash exists as stablecoins on open source blockchains. We want to tap into the decentralization and the open sourceness that these technologies offer, or else it's just like open banking. It's just APIs where a silo dictates who gets in and who gets out. Well, with blockchains, it's different. It's more of a general marketplace where anyone is welcome. And that's fantastic. However, what we do create, for example, with now our e-euro is entirely backed by European bonds. Now, you can't hold those on a blockchain. We need to hold those with a safe custody provider. You cannot accept fiat in and out if you're not banked yourself. And so we utilize the infrastructure which has been developed before blockchain and even, during Web 2 growth with open banking. So it's not one or the other. And this tug of war, which is happening between the two poles, will result hopefully in something great being invented. On the contrary, we also see that somebody on the other side pulls really, really hard, like a CBDC out of China. So these things can also be dangerous if that side wins. On the other hand, if the other side wins, let's say the pure technocrats and the pure the blockchain evangelists win, there might be challenges with disrupting status quo in such a disruptive way. So perhaps this tug of war is needed. Did I answer your question?
I believe so, yes.
That was a lengthy answer. I'm sorry. Sorry
It's
about that.
fine. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for those insights, really. Okay, last question for today. Your motto is let's just make money smart. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? And like, what's your approach here? How do you actually translate it directly to business decisions you make?
Yeah, it's a good question. We say make dumb money smart, and that's
Okay.
because that cash is dumb money. You can't do anything digital with it. When we talk about smart IoT solutions like smart lamps, smart speakers, smart TVs, they're connected and can do a lot more. Like a smart TV can stream movies from Netflix while a dumb TV cannot, right? So it opens up like an entirely new world of opportunities. But what is smart money? Well, money in Denmark is already digital. So if I have money in Danske Bank, it's digital. I can use it. If I'm a financial institution, I can access it through APIs, and it's somewhat digital. When we say smart money, the mindset is that the tools to make it smart should be limitless. Right? If you want to connect to Danske Bank, you connect through their APIs, and imagine like there is a doorman asking you questions. Do you have enough money? Who are you? Are you regulated? What's your identity? What's your 3 months proof of residency? Have you had money with other banks before? Like, so this doorman is like checking you out and is like, no, you can't get in. With blockchains, you don't have a doorman. Like it's an open park. Anyone can get in. So it's important that want to develop smart money for ARYZE at least. It means that we cannot be the ones deciding who gets access, and we cannot be the ones deciding what smart tools you have available. So with Ethereum, you have, the coding language behind it, you have the network of miners behind it, you have the huge ecosystem developing lots of amazing dApps and all kinds of stuff. So digital cash existing as an Ethereum token would make it instantly interoperable with the existing dApps that Ethereum offers. So smart money needs to be available on open source blockchains with the tools available for anyone to utilize, or else it's not true smart money. Also, today when we transfer digital money around, we transfer IOUs. I transfer my bank IOU to you, and the money has never been mine or yours. It's been my bank's, and then it has become your bank's. What we're seeing with blockchain and cryptocurrencies is that there are bearer instruments, meaning that you own the certificate, and when you transfer it, the next person owns the certificate. It's not an IOU in the same way. Like if I have a Bitcoin, it's mine, right? And if I transfer it to you, it is now yours. With digital cash, ARYZE digital cash, we have emulated this. We said, well, cash is a bearer instrument. If I have $100 bill and I give it to you, it's yours. But why is cash valuable? Well, it's guaranteed by the backing of the state and the fact that it's printed by a central bank. but it's yours when you hold it in your hand. And you are entirely at liberty to hold it in whichever wallet you want. The ATM does not state you need to hold this in a Dolce & Gabbana wallet or a Hugo Boss wallet or whatever wallet. You pick your wallet. In the same way, we imagine digital cash needs to work across all the major blockchains. So if you want to utilize Ethereum, you should be able to do so. And similarly to cash, digital cash by ARYZE are bearer instruments, meaning that, with their instant finality when you send it and you actually transfer ownership of the e-money, of the e-representation of your money. And the underlying backing, the actual euros, the actual euro bonds which have been purchased are not ours. They're not ARYZE's. They're not the bank's. We can go bankrupt. The bank can go bankrupt. The custody provider can go bankrupt. And these assets are on segregated accounts and structured in a way that they're not ARYZE's. They're actually yours, the users, just like cash. So to take a step back, smart money, it needs to be yours, like cash. It needs to be programmable, so it works across open source blockchains. And there needs to be no doubt about the value behind it. Like that cannot be ARYZE promising, oh, it's there, all the money is there. No, you need third-party auditors, you need solvency checks and all that stuff, right? That would be my criteria for smart money. So
Seems like you have like 3 checks to cover.
Yeah. And I mean, Danske Bank money, it's not yours. And it's backed only 10% in the government or in the national banks, and 90% is fractional lending and used for risk taking. So money in the bank doesn't even cover 2 of the 3 check marks. Then you have the sum of the stable coins, which are maybe covering 1 or 2. ARYZE Digital Cash will be a direct representation of cash and a 1-to-1 direct representation of cash. This is, sorry, a long rant, but I'll finish this thought. This is not a new concept. Full reserve banking was conceptualized after the Great Depression, and something was written called the Chicago Plan, which looked into the advantages of full reserve banking to prevent bank runs. Now, this was revised again in 2012 by IMF, and the conclusions remain. A full reserve banking setup would prevent bank runs, it would minimize debt, and there are tons of advantages. So this digital cash, it's nothing new. ARYZE has been working on it since 2017, but smarter minds than mine have been thinking about it for many, many years prior. We just now have the exponentially growing technologies to make these things a reality. Satoshi made money free. And the reason that we can do what we do today is because money got liberated, it got democratized, and we're just continuing that.
I will keep my fingers crossed.
Me too.
With your mission. Jack, thank you for sharing all your insights, all your knowledge today. It was really great to learn them all. And also thank you, our audience, for listening to yet another episode of IT Insights 5 Questions series. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
IT Insights, 5 questions to tech and business leaders. Visit us at itinsights.tech and dive into our podcasts, webinars and events.